If you've ever opened your sketchbook wanting to paint something new, and all you find yourself doing is staring at the blank page, well, then this video is for you. Most of us start our art journey by following tutorials, and they work at first, and they make you feel safe, supported, and even successful. But then as you are painting, something changes. The moment you decide that you are not going to paint from a tutorial, this is the part where you look at the blank page and completely freeze. It's almost like your hands have forgotten what to do. Now, this really isn't a problem in skill. If anything, this is where we might have given a lot of our power over to tutorials. While they make us feel very safe and supported, they also end up making us feel like we are not capable of making our own decisions. Now, before you start jumping and thinking, "But Jillian, I'm a beginner, shouldn't I start with tutorials?" Well, you are absolutely right. Tutorials do have a place in your journey. However, I wanted to share with you a story of my own. This is how my painting looked like when I tried to follow a tutorial, and this is how my painting looked like when I tried to paint it on my own. Now, this here looks like a very stark difference, but this is where I want to let you know that I am currently a stage 4 artist. And you know, if this is the first time you're hearing about the stages, then I would love for you to check out the link below where I am going to be listing for you the different stages. You get to find out what your stage is, because this is a framework that I have mapped out and developed for the artists within Brush Movement Collective to help them to identify where they are in their journey so that they can focus on the stage that they are at instead of feeling the need to constantly progress. Now let's get back to how this turned into this. Now this is where really understanding the ability to start to trust yourself with the skills that you already know and the brushes and the tools that you already have is going to really change the way you see your painting. So many of us have been following tutorials, and somewhere along the way we have gotten lost, not because of the tutorials, but because we can't stop watching the tutorials. The dependency is the problem, and it's not so much on the learning from the tutorials, because I feel like you will definitely pick up a thing or two. And the nice thing about the variety of exposures that you have to tutorials is that you really start to think about styles that you lean towards, techniques that you are good at, and things that really work out for you on the paper. Now, what we want to now do is really to bridge what you already know with what you can do onto your paper. I've also done a video where I've talked about how you can actually start applying your skills so you can actually see how all the skills get translated onto paper, and that is actually going to be in the link below. But what I really want to share about tutorials is that they remove decision fatigue. They give you the answers, but this safety also comes with a cost. Because over time, you lose the ability to ask yourself the most important question: who am I and what do I want to create? And that's why I feel this 5-stage framework is such an important one, because it's more than just learning skills. It's really about learning to hear yourself again. In a while, I want to share with you the different ways in which you can start thinking about the way you can apply your skills and get back your power. I want to empower you with ways in which you can start to slowly bridge your skills with what you have been learning on tutorials. This way, we begin to make it a little easier for you so that you can start to think of one step that you can take by the end of this video the next time you paint. So if you're ready, come and join me. So when you are in stage 1, you're really just learning what your tools can do and being able to narrate what exactly you are doing and seeing on your paper is going to be such a helpful step. Maybe say aloud like, ooh, this stroke is very nice and thin. Or say aloud like, oh, there is so much water in here. I wonder what can I do to lighten or remove that water. Now, being able to say everything aloud will make you start to internalize the process more than the outcome, because we do know that at the end of the day, everything starts with a single mark.
At stage 1, copying is exactly what you need. This is where your hands are learning the basics, understanding how water moves, how pigment spreads, and the way in which your brush is dancing across the paper. There is no shame here. It's really about letting yourself follow. I also feel like in this specific stage, especially when I was in stage 1, you get so excited by all the possibilities. There are so many different things. You have to just, go on YouTube, click on the search bar and just search loose watercolor florals, and just everything pops up. It is almost as though you are served with a buffet of everything that is possible. And with that, I think it is also important for us to not only consume whatever that we are given the opportunity to, but also be sitting down and allowing ourselves to really get to know our brush. Now, I want to share that in this video that you are watching, this is actually a class inside of Brush Movement Collective for our stage 1 artists, where we are playing with brush shapes. Now, this is actually a class called Letting Loose with Leaves, and the lesson isn't just about mastering shape, it's also about paying attention. I want to encourage artists to notice which strokes feel joyful, which ones feel like control, and which one feels like curiosity. Now, every time we put a mark on the paper, it represents something that you are able to create because it's your hand. And by really paying attention to the way that you are moving, you move away from just focusing on what the person is teaching you on the screen, but more on what your muscles are able to do and the marks you can create. If you're a stage 1 artist and you want to know how exactly you can begin to apply your skills that go beyond a tutorial, here is a little exercise that I would love to introduce to you. And I hope that this exercise not only gives you some insight on your process, but also something that you can do even if you are beyond stage 1. Let's move from making marks to starting to experiment with floral shapes. In stage 2, we start to lean in on the instruction further, but something changes. You begin to ask, what happens if I try this instead? You begin to realize that you do have some background knowledge of what is happening and how exactly things take place on your paper. You know what wet in wet is, wet in dry. However, what you don't know is really knowing when to use what technique. So then you rely on instruction to start wondering how you stack these different pieces of the puzzle together. Now, in Paint Your Own Bouquet, which is a floral class inside Brush Movement, we start off by painting each flower as its own study first. By doing so, you really start to observe more like an artist and less like a student. You begin to start thinking about how each piece is connected when you are painting florals, the different ways in which you can paint the same floral, and by stage 3, you begin assembling. You are assembling not just the different elements, but you start to take decisions to feel like yours. You are no longer just following the structure alone, but you are thinking about how you can remix it. When you're putting the bouquet together, there are so many different ways in which you can create the floral arrangement, and this is where you get to exercise autonomy. Now, starting to think about the way in which you are making decisions in stage 2 and 3 is going to help you to expand beyond tutorials. You're going to start to lean in and listen to more of what you want and what you hope for. And this voice is so powerful, so don't allow a tutorial to dilute it. Instead, lean into it and start wondering and questioning what is happening in front of you so that you can better apply the skills instead of just following a tutorial. When we head into stage 3 and 4, we are not just creating a plan, but we are becoming more purposeful. And here is where it is less about what you paint and more about why. In the art of color and composition, I introduced the idea of armatures. These are underlying shapes that help to guide our composition. These are thumbnail sketching that might look simple, but they are so powerful because for the first time, we are no longer asking, how do I copy a flower? But instead, you are beginning to think about how I want my eye to move. What energy am I creating? At which space am I going to create a pause? You are now creating with intention and a lot less about instruction. Now here is the stage where many of us could still be looking into tutorials. And if you have not walked through stage 1 where you've done narration, or if you have not tried to peel back the layers and just change up 1 or 2 things in your composition, then perhaps you can either scale back and go back into narration just to help you to get a grip of the different ways in which you are experiencing watercolor in a way where you are vocalizing what you're seeing before you actually enter this stage where we start to plan with a little bit more purpose. Now here is also the stage where it also gives you a little bit of a roadmap to think about, so it relieves the guesswork. Because you see, whenever we are leaning into a tutorial, one of the things that we are fearful of is really not having a safety net. And when we have a painting that has a clear plan and a purpose because we have created or drawn out the thumbnail, it really helps us to guide our decision making and relieves that fatigue, which is the scary part about facing a blank page.
By the time you get to stage 4 and 5, you already know all of the different processes related to watercolor. It's time to put it into practice. We're starting to think about how we want to express. This is really all about you this time, but this also means that your voice needs to be a lot stronger than tutorials. And instead of seeing tutorials as a way to teach you, you are starting to see tutorials as a way to inspire you.
Let's think about stage 5. We want to expand your creative spirit. This is the time where you just paint your heart out. And stage 5 is really where copying becomes irrelevant. We are taking the thumbnails that we have done before, and now we are creating from an internal vision and no longer about external rules. At this stage, you already know all the different skills and you're thinking about how you can stack the different skills together. You are also a lot better at troubleshooting, so this also means that you get to think about how to problem solve when different things happen on the paper. You see, we all know how unpredictable watercolor can be, but instead of seeing watercolor as a way to control, how if we start seeing that watercolor is a way to express and to let go and to really start seeing parts of your painting where you dive into curiosity and a lot less into managing and controlling it, because what you want is a painting that is alive, colored, and dynamic. You aren't painting a subject. Instead, let's paint a feeling, and with that structure there, the spirit is what's going to lead you, your energetic creativity. Now, this is where your work begins to speak back to you, and depending on how you feel about your outcome, it isn't important anymore because you are so focused on understanding what are the underlying folds and layers that have allowed you to create this piece of art.
So, at the end of all of this, I don't want you to see copying and tutorials as a dirty word. In fact, I want you to start to see it as an opportunity. See the magic in what someone else is able to do, and then ask yourself, what can I do? Because we know that copying teaches your hands, but choosing is what's going to teach your voice. And that really is the shift when you begin to trust what you know on the inside and translate it on the outside. So even when your painting is not perfect, at least you knew what exactly was happening on your paper and how you got there, so that the next time you paint, you know what not to do and how to improve instead. So here's your invitation. I want you to pick a tutorial that you have painted from before and just change one thing. And then come back to it again and change another thing. And then ask yourself, by looking at those paintings, which one felt most like you? Which one you lean towards, and what did you like about it? How did you even got there? Because these questions are so important in internalizing what you are able to do and less about what is actually on your paper. By doing so, you are also going to start to focus on the stage that you are in, which is, like I said, a framework that I feel has guided so many loose floral artists that I would love for you to also find out. So if you enjoyed today's episode, I would love for you to put your comments down, let me know your thoughts, because there is nothing wrong with following tutorials. It's really how you want to use it, and also to what extent you are going to allow it to eat into your creative voice, or decide to break away and begin to listen to yourself from the very beginning. I can't wait for you to finally empower yourself so that you are better able to not just be inspired, but also start to listen to what you need, what your creative practice means to you, and hopefully this means that you are going to be painting more and saving less tutorials.